Hey everyone, I'm Micah from OST. This shop is run by my dad and I, and we're gonna start doing some more video content rather than just Facebook posts. Right now our YouTube channel is really just videos of cars going down the track, and we kind of do that so that we could post them on Facebook and so that we could share them with each other, so that we can get them on each other's phones and whatnot. Just send it to YouTube and then we can watch it on our TVs at home. But I think that going forward, it would be nice to try to develop that YouTube channel a little bit, because it seems like a lot of people watch YouTube videos, us included. So why not make our own? And they may be a little awkward at first. Neither my dad or myself are very comfortable in front of a camera, but it'll probably just be the day-to-day stuff going on in the shop. Maybe I'll compile a video of it at the end of the week and kind of just post it and see what happens. So this is kind of the first one in a video of that format. So I'll switch it around and we'll see what we're working on today. All right, so this is the project for the day. We're working on this. Before I get to that, we have some cool new shelves that we picked up off Facebook Marketplace. So in the past, when engines get torn down, they have been put on a table like this. So we just have these plastic tables and they work great, except they're only one shelf. So the stuff that can go on the floor goes on the floor, and then the stuff that's nicer goes on the table. However, when you really tear a car apart more than just, a short block, like this car over here, this one's really torn apart, and the cradle's just up in there. There's nothing in it. This was really consuming a lot of space. So we needed to resolve that. I've been looking at tables on Amazon, shelving on Amazon, and it seems like it's so expensive for what you actually get. So I told Dad about it. I'm looking for some shelves, and he's like, let me take care of it. So he hopped on Facebook Marketplace and pretty quickly found someone out in Ohio getting rid of a bunch of these, and they're really slick, and it's mobile. So it has wheels on the bottom and a lock so that you can wheel it around the shop if you do need it, unlike a normal shelf, which would just be locked in one spot. So yes, it's a little messy right now. I am moving everything from the tables that we had to these shelves. We have one more shelf back there to do. So the shop's not in like perfect condition right now. So this is the project for today. Some wiring needs to be done to the wire harness. Most of the harness has already been modified. So one of the things that this customer wanted, which I think is a fantastic idea, was to get rid of the factory wiring, because it's kind of a bit ugly compared to the rest of the stuff on this engine, like the intake and the valve covers. So what we did was, instead of starting completely from scratch, I left the PCM side of the harness factory, and then everything else, except for, and the part that goes with the transmission tunnel factory, everything else got modified. So lengthened, shortened, whatever it needed to be, and then sheathed and heat shrink. So everything got depinned and the length adjusted, and then this sheathing was put on, heat shrink, some zip ties, but essentially we're left with a coil harness that runs up under the coils. I wish we could make it more hidden, but unfortunately the coils have to have wires. So coil harness and then injector harness. These will get zip tied up to the injector body itself to make them even more hidden. Just don't have the mounts for the fuel rails, because those were not shipped to us when we ordered the intake manifold directly from Plasma Man. So they were kind enough to send those to us. Those will be coming in. I don't know when those will come, but hopefully they'll arrive soon so we can actually bolt the fuel rails on. And then let's see. Yeah, so here's some more of the wiring. Everything is hidden up under the intake manifold. AC wires go down here. The adapter for the throttle body at the top did not actually fit the 90mm throttle body. So the O-ring on the inside was so small that you could open up the throttle blade and peek in through and actually see the O-ring, which means obviously the O-ring is not going to seal. So what I did was put this adapter into the lathe, and cut down below to the bottom, well, cut down to the bottom of the O-ring groove to essentially cut out the O-ring. And then the diameter had to be opened up as well. So the diameter now is like a flush finish with the throttle. Because before it was really hanging out. The aluminum was very far. If you could see the O-ring, you can imagine how much aluminum you could see. And maybe I have some pictures of that. I think I do. So that was opened up on the lathe as well. And then this will go on with RTV or a gasket. I'm probably going to do RTV because you can't really see it, whereas a gasket you would see, and it would kind of ruin the look of, you know, this silver look, which is what the customer's going for. So a little bit unfortunate, but you got to do what you got to do. And then, yeah, so this is one of our 426 short blocks, high compression. I guess I should say not high. It's 11 to 1 compression, so around the same as the factory engine. He'll still be able to run pump gas. It's not anything insane like 14 to 1 or anything. This is not going to be a race car. This is going to be a show car. But what's cool is so with this harness, I've made sure that we can actually still hook up the factory intake manifold with just a swap. So we'll have it on the dyno with this, and then we'll switch back to the factory dual runner intake and actually see on a big cam, ported head, 426 style Hemi, does the Plasma Man intake do anything? I don't know. I'm curious to see. What do you guys think is going to happen? Yeah, I guess you can write it in the comments down below. That seems to be what people say to do. So yeah, let me know what you think is going to happen. Personal opinion, I'll hold on to it for now, but we'll see. So on the back, there's a bunch of MPT ports for, you know, whatever you want them to be, but we made a lot of this one for the EGR. This one is for the brake booster, still you're running the factory line. And then this one is no longer an NPT port. It's drilled, reamed out a bit, and then a hole was threaded right beside it so that we could just slide the factory map sensor right in without having to have it hang off with like a vacuum line or anything like that. Fuel system is, this portion on the intake is roughed in and done. Got to connect it to that line. So I have some fittings to do that, just some quick disconnect EFI type fittings. And then we got to go to here with it. The fuel rail ends are going to be capped. It'll be deadheaded. Like I said, this isn't going to be a race car. It's not going to be forced induction or anything, so we don't need a crazy fuel system. But it's going to be pretty cool. It's going to be really pretty when it's done. So I'm very excited to see it done with the harness and all of that hidden and tucked away. And then we have this truck. So this is in for a set of Cook's headers. Let's see if we can see them on the side here. So I got them on yesterday. However, we are missing pieces from a brand new Cook's kit. Well, truthfully, I guess it's not brand new. We ordered it brand new, but it came sealed with packing tape rather than sealed with the staples. So someone had opened it up in the past and I guess removed some parts from it. I'm not totally sure. The box wasn't banged up. The box is over here, completely undamaged. So the headers arrived fine, but the mid pipes had a clamp missing and the joiner pipe between the two catalytic converters missing. So thankfully, Turn 14 had another one of these kits in stock, so we just ordered a second one. We'll take the part out of that and deal with the problem later, but we got to get this guy going. We can't just sit and wait for someone to help us out. All right, so then what do we got going on here? So Dad's chassis car's off the lift because he got his old car back up. So this is his car from when he was 16, I think he says, when he got it. And I guess he bought it for $47. Sorry if I get some of these details wrong, but it did not look like this. I guess it was wrecked into the side of a barn and it was that olive green color. So the farmer just wanted it out. Dad got it. It was original 440 car, original, was it an original air grabber hood? I'm not as versed on the older stuff as he is. He could tell you that, but he did get an air grabber hood for it, which is not on the car, but might be going back on. So we're kind of going to do a light restoration on this, just some new quarters, new rockers. This thing has been sitting at his house garage for 15 years. And we put this together probably 20 years ago and just needs some love. It's just been sitting. And you can see all the cobwebs and stuff under it. We literally just got it up a couple days ago. But this used to be a really, it still is a really cool car, but it used to be in really nice shape. It's just been sitting. kind of got started with OST, and this car kind of got forgotten about. But that's it up there. So we'll bring it back to life, I guess. It does still run and drive, and we drove it on the trailer, and it fires right up. Bring some life back into it, I should say, not bring it back to life. It does live. This car's just waiting for springtime. We put a new setup in it. Kind of keep that under wraps for now until we test it and see how it does. But we're also going to be putting it on Holley EFI, so we'll get to experiment with that. This is our test car for all the street style modifications. All right, ready to put this back up in the car. Got the damper on, spark plugs in, harness is all finished up. And yeah, I did decide to leave the power cable off until it's in the car, just to see where that relay box end goes. You know, it sits up here. I don't want to cut anything too short, so I think we can still access everything with the engine in the car, which is fine. I think that's it. I'm going to see if I can film a time lapse of it. So we'll see how that goes. All right, it's in to stay this time. Everything went pretty smoothly. Valve covers fit nice with the air conditioning lines. And then as for the intake, I'll show you guys this. Well, it's not all the way on yet. Not yet, it's just, I have it off just in case I need to remove it for some measurements, and I'll show you what we got going on here. So right now, the whole cradle is set as far back as I can get it. On the frame rails, there's play in the 4 bolts that hold the cradle on. So you can move it forward and backward. I've moved it as far back as possible. I marked where I took it out, just, you know, typical how we do. We mark where it comes out, so when it goes back in, it's the same spot, and you shouldn't need to realign anything or do an alignment. But I may need to move this all the way back because the intake, the plasma main intake puts the throttle so far forward. I've even milled, like I said in the past, milled some off here, and the reason this is still off is in case I need to mill some more off, because there's certainly a lot of room that I can mill off. I don't know. I have to see how far those threads go in there. I don't want to make it have no threads holding the throttle on, but there's only about 4 inches between the core support and the throttle. So I've made up a really tight 90. This is a 2 1/8. Yeah, 2 1/8 inch centerline radius 90. So we'll see if we can work with that at all. We got a different kind of material. This is just PLA, but we have a different kind of material that can take heat. But as you can see, even all the way back on the subframe, it's probably hard to tell on camera, but I bet you that might be 3/4 of an inch. That's probably as tight as I would want to run it, because when he hits the brakes on this car, this engine's going to roll forward or move forward on the engine mounts, and I don't want the intake to come crashing into that core support. So the throttle clears the hood. Will it clear the hood when it's in a 90-degree angle like this? No, probably not. Probably have to angle it down, which means we'll need another angle here of some degree. And then I have a JLT airbox to go here that I'm going to try my hardest to make this made up to it. So we'll see how it goes. It's probably gonna need a 3D printed cone to go from the 6-inch filter element on the air box to about here, where it transfers into 4-inch. And then this is 3 3/4. So there's no, I couldn't find any donuts. They were 3 3/4 aluminum donuts. And even if there were, I'm quite confident they're not 2 1/8 inch centerline radius. That is ridiculously tight. So we're not cutting this. Definitely not cutting that. Got to do it right. So I'm going to make some sort of adapter here that slips over the throttle. It'll be part of the plastic, but it'll kind of like pop on, and then you'll hose clamp that on. There won't be any rubber coupler there because there's not enough room for it. So that's kind of the next big project, but I'm going to get the rest of the engine all buttoned up, and we'll probably fire it up before doing the intake. The intake will be like the very last thing we do, just to make sure there's no other problems. I don't want to spend a ton of time on the intake and then find out we have something else to deal with. So, but hopefully there aren't any. We can put it together and fire it up. All goes well. We'll make an intake for it and put it on the dyno and see what happens. It's a new day at the shop, and look what arrived. The second set of headers for that Ram over there. So I'm going to open them up, and well, not the headers, but the mid-pipe box, and see if our missing pieces in it. I don't know, is this one open too? The last one came taped shut. I think the staples are just ripped. There's like literally only one staple holding it on, so it definitely hasn't been, I hope it hasn't been opened like the last one. Let's see if our parts are in here. So we're missing one 3-inch clamp and the Cat connection pipe, or J pipe, or whatever it would be called. Oh, that's not it. Okay, we're missing one of these guys. Set that aside. And what's going on here? What is it? Like, it's in the picture. It's in the instructions. It's in the stock photo, and it's clearly needed because I can't put it together without the connection pipe. All right, what's going on? It's not in this one either. What is going on? You've got to be kidding me. We have the Cat for the driver's side, the pipe that goes back to the exhaust. This goes on the back of that, right there. We have the Cat for the passenger side, but not, this is insane. Good thing I filmed this. The pipe that comes out and connects to the other bank. You've got to be kidding me. Is it in the, it's not going to be in the header box. What? All right. I am going to, let's see, is there a picture of the header kit on the box? Probably not. Let me figure this out. All right, so here's the instructions on my office desk. This is the pipe. Oop. This pipe right here is what I need. And it is not in the second kit either. This is wild. So we have this Y section. We have this section that goes back. We have the Cat right here. We don't have the piece that joins them. Man, 2 in a row. Something's going on at Cook's, I guess. All right. All right, back on the Scat Pack, because the second Cook's box really did not have the connection pipe between the two banks. I can't believe it. I've never had that happen before. So it took me a bit of time to finally get a hold of someone. I wasn't able to get a hold of anyone at Cook's, but I was able to get a hold of someone at the distributor where we buy the Cook's products. And they informed me that when I told them the first time, or when I emailed Cook's the first time about this part being missing, the Cook's actually shipped one. Cook's didn't tell me, and the distributor didn't tell me, 2 days ago, but I wish they would have told me before we spent an extra $3,000 to buy a second set of headers just for this piece of pipe, but it looks like they'll take those back too. But crazy stuff. That's part of it. We've not had that happen, but there's all sorts of crazy stuff that happens. So that's not totally out of the norm. It's just that I'm glad I filmed it. I'm glad I filmed me opening that second box, or people would think I'm crazy. So that's all done and sorted. It's going to be here Monday. Unfortunately, that means we can't get this truck done until that shows up. But I guess it is what it is. It's outside of our control now. So right now I'm working on this Scat Pack. I'll flip it back around. So the engine's pretty much all hooked up. Waiting on Dad to do a PCM unlock and waiting on a fuel line fitting. So have to make custom fuel supply lines to the rails from the factory line. And I ordered a 3/8 EFI connector by mistake, and it's a 5/16 line. So that's my bad. But that's ordered. That'll be coming in. I would assume it'll be here Monday. Hopefully it'll be here Monday. Then we can connect that. But it doesn't much matter because Plasma Man did not send us the adapters to go from the standoffs that they have to the bolt hole location right here. So we can't even put the fuel rails in anyway. So hopefully, like I said, I think I mentioned it before, hopefully those will be here soon. But until those are here, we can't start this. So missing parts all around. Anyway, so in the meantime, like I said, everything's hooked up. Everything's plumbed. I haven't done the watt box and the shift light yet. Like I said, the plugs are on the back of the harness, but I think I'm actually going to put the watt box inside the car. So it's been a very long time since I've seen one in person. And by very long, I mean, I think we were putting them on cars back in like 2008. So I just kind of forgot exactly what they looked like. They're definitely not water sealed or watertight or anything. I don't think that they have any sort of water resistant parts on them. So I really don't think I want to put that in the engine bay. Normally I put the MSD box back by the PCM, but it's watertight. All the wires are potted and everything in it. It's got sealant all in it, but the watt box is not. So I'm going to put that inside the car, which is fine. I'll have to run the wires through the hole there, which would have to be used anyway because the shift light's got to go in the car. So it'll all just go on in one harness, which will be fine. It'll still be nice, and you'll still, just disconnect them at the back of the harness when you do want to get the engine out. Whether it's me or the next guy, they'll at least be able to just disconnect them. But the fuel lines look like they're going to be awesome. It's going to be easy. It's going to be out of the way, and it's going to be removable easily. You don't have to get a wrench back there to try to get fuel line fittings off. You can just unclip it off the factory hard line back there. Brake booster line fit perfectly. It's a factory brake booster line, just to keep the nice fitting there, not have to worry about it, and the nice bends that it has, and the nice connectors so that it can go onto the heater hoses. It's nice to keep that stuff. Okay, so now what I'm doing is I am trying to sort out an intake. So we have a JLT intake box I'm hoping to use for this car. I'm going to try to. And obviously the supplied JLT J&L? I guess it's J&L now. I'll call it JLT though. The JLT airbox and filter. I've got my handy dandy 3D printed piece here. Kind of got it indicated. It needs to have a little bit of a downward angle so it can clear the throttle plug. So it's going to be about there, and then I'm going to have a second piece in this area just at the end. I need to get a tripod or something. But we'll have this, there will be another one here, and then there's going to be a cone between the filter and the tubing. And it's going to look something like this, almost like an old 6.1 intake, but it'll just be one long cone. I'd like to make it a cone rather than a long piece of pipe that just all of a sudden bumps up to 5 7/8 of an inch is what the idea of that is. I just think that looks kind of silly having one piece of pipe and then it goes into this big old filter. So I'm gonna do a cone if possible, print that up, and print the piece on the end. We'll do one more run of PLA and then just fit them up, make sure it works, and then we'll print it out of the carbon fiber. And then I also have to work out this connector. So it's going to be something like a short section of pipe, but it's going to have a lot of reliefs in it so that when it does go over this, it can kind of spread, and it'll have a kind of like a bead on the inside of it. It'll go and spread and then snap back down on that bead, and that'll hold it, and then a hose clamp will go over it. That's the idea. That's the plan. Hopefully it actually works. I'm sure that I would think that the angle at which it's printed is important, because you don't want those to spread all on the same layer. You don't want the layers to be built like in this direction and then they're all splitting like spreading like this. You would want the layers to be maybe this way or diagonal, but I'll figure it out. So I'm going to make that this weekend. I'm going to make the cone this weekend, and then hopefully I can come in Monday, test fit everything, tweak it if needed, and then print it all out of the carbon fiber early next week, and we'll get an intake for this. All this work, hopefully this intake actually makes more power, or at least the same power, but at least it'll look good if it doesn't. But we're building the car for power, but mostly for looks, so gotta do what you gotta do. Oh, right, so the power wire for the starter is actually going to work out really, really nice. I was thinking I'd have to shorten it or make my own or whatever else. Actually, it's not that one. It's this one. But it drops down to the alternator and hooks right up to the alternator with no issues. And then as it goes back to the starter, that's really where I thought I'd have to cut something or tweak something or whatever else. But I really liked the connector for the starter. It's got that nice big plastic holder for the wire, and it makes it really nice to get them on and off because the wire doesn't turn as you try to tighten or loosen the nut. However, if it runs back and behind the transmission, not far, I can actually connect it to the bell housing bolt from factory and then just run it up like it's from factory. So it works out great. It's like the same amount of length that it needs to do that as it needs to go around the top and back down. So it's going to work out really slick. Gonna have to just wrap it and install it, and it'll be the same as factory too, because you'll just unbolt it here, swing it up over the engine, and take the engine out. So all working out. Intake air temp sensor plug still has to get on there. Air conditioning is plugged in. Everything is going very smoothly so far. So I'm at a breaking point on this because everything is plugged in except for the stuff we just talked about. Everything's done except for what we just talked about. So I am going to clean up the fab room because there's going to be some fabrication that we're going to be doing here pretty soon on Dad's chassis car. And then clean up the rest of the shop because it is a little bit messy. Got to do some burning and whatnot. All right, well, that's kind of it for the week. I think we're about done doing the videos for the week. Really wish we would be able to get that done. But as I get better at doing this, maybe the quality will improve. But this is kind of what a couple days, obviously we didn't start at the beginning of the week, but this is kind of what a couple days in the shop looks like. If you guys like it, comment and say you like it. If you have any ideas for improvements, let us know. But we're going to try to keep doing something along these lines as long as it doesn't get in the way of actually getting cars done, because that's what we're really here to do. We are not a YouTube shop, so we're just filming for people to see what we're doing. But maybe you guys like it, maybe you don't. We'll see. Yeah, it's going to be a fun one. This is how we put it together 15, 20 years ago. We thought it was nice then. It's still nice, but it could be nicer. We've learned a lot since then. Wires just hanging wherever they may. Yeah, so we're going to be redoing a lot of this. Try to strip it down, sandblast the underside, and Dad wants to put new quarters on it and new rockers and make it look presentable again. He also wants to put the air grabber hood back on it, so we might have to get creative with the cross member and dropping it down and shorten up the oil pan, because he's got a tall high-rise intake on it and a dominator, and it does not clear the air grabber hood at all. So we'll get creative. We're putting a low deck engine in, a low deck block in it though, so that's going to be some space, and then a lower intake manifold, take the nitrous plate out. You know, it's all going to add up, and hopefully we don't have to space the subframe down too much. But all right, there you go. Have a good weekend, guys.